Welcome to Securing Your Brand with SecureMark Legal. On this podcast, we break down the legal side of branding and protecting your business without the legalese. From trademark, copyright, and contracting tips to real-world case studies, we're here to help you safeguard your business, your brand, and reputation. We are here to help entrepreneurs, creatives, and business owners protect what they've built through smart, strategic IP solutions.
Hello, I am Holly McFall, a trademark attorney. Welcome back to Securing Your Brand with SecureMark Legal, where we make legal stuff, especially personal brands and trade names, way less scary and way more actionable.
And I'm Melissa Jetta. I work with business owners, creators, professionals across the country to help them protect their name, their brand, their content, their identity, what makes that unique and how they can protect that.
Today, we're talking about personal brands. Creators and influencers are becoming big business. We're going to discuss why entrepreneurs should be treating their name or trade name as the valuable business asset it is. Today, we discuss the hows and whys your name should be legally protected.
And I'm Lisa Mosby, here to ask so when does my personal brand become a thing, legally speaking? Ladies, when someone is building a personal brand, whether they're a creator, coach, or professional, what does protecting that brand actually involve?
It really turns into your identity. It becomes something more than just who you are. It becomes an asset, a business. And that's when it's legally recognized and you should start protecting it. A lot of people think that personal brands are just their online presence. This is me. But legally, it becomes something more when you're entering into commerce. You're selling services, you're launching a product, you're monetizing your content. Even building a followers and attracting sponsorships, you're starting to create a brand. You're starting to become a business, and that brand is your business identifier. That's when you really need to start protecting it. You really need to start protecting it so that nobody in your audience is copycatting you and, profiting off of what you've made. Your brand, your name, your handle, your program names, your taglines. Making that yours and protecting that so no one else can use it and it's not confusingly similar to anyone else.
And it's also about control. Without trademark protection, someone else could build off your reputation, confuse your audience, or even block you from expanding later on. So at the end of the day, it's about separating you as a person from you as a brand and making sure the business side is secure. Your reputation is your brand, and that has value, and that's something worth protecting, and it's also a valuable business asset.
So if someone wants to use their own name, maybe a stage name or a trade name, how can they tell whether it's something that can be protected?
So the starting point is by asking, does this name actually identify you in the marketplace? So not all names are automatically protectable. For example, a common legal name on its own, like John Smith Consulting, is often too generic unless it has built strong recognition over time. What makes a name protectable is distinctiveness. The more unique or creative the name is, the easier it is to protect. That's why we often see stage names, brand aliases, or coined business names being stronger from a trademark perspective.
You want to think long term. You want to build a foundation that you can continue to grow on. The name may work today, but is it still going to make sense when you expand your services, you launch new products, you pivot? Will that name still stand out, make you distinct from everyone else? It's important that the name is also available. Just having the social handle or the domain doesn't mean that it's legally available. You often see brands that have to rebrand later because they didn't think long-term, or worse, they were infringing on someone else's brand. So you need to make sure that you can actually protect that name.
And then for influencers or creators, when does legal protection usually start to matter? And follow-up question on that, what if their brand looks different on different platforms?
Protection starts much earlier than people think. Most creators wait till they feel established, but you really want to start as soon as you have and built your identity. You want it to be valuable. You don't want it to be copied. You don't want it to be challenged. You don't want to be infringing on someone else's. So when people start recognizing your brand, that could be 100 followers, it could be 500, it could be 5,000 followers. you've got something that's worth protecting. They've got recognition across that. You're starting to monetize this. You're starting to earn sponsorships, get products, review products, things along those lines. That's when you want to protect your brand. The second money enters the picture, brand deals, courses, service, anything along those lines, you're not just a creator, you're now a business owner.
Right, and consistency is also huge. If you're using different names across different platforms, it weakens your position legally because it's harder to prove that all of those identities point back to one brand. So from a legal standpoint, you want one clear, consistent identity that your audience and the law can recognize. You cannot build on land you don't own. You need trademark protection to create the foundation of the brand you are building.
And if someone finds another business using a similar name, how can they tell whether there's a real conflict?
This is where things get more nuanced and a little confusing sometimes. Not every similar name is automatically a problem. Trademark law looks at something called likelihood of confusion, which basically asks, would consumers think these two brands are related? We evaluate several factors: how the names look, how they sound, what they mean, and whether the businesses operate in the same space.
We conduct a comprehensive search looking into the USPTO. That is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. That is where trademarks are registered nationally here in the US. We are not just looking for confusingly similar names. We're looking for names that may be spelled differently, sound the same, or have the same commercial impression. We're using numbers for vowels. We're using phonetic equivalents. We're even looking at foreign words and abbreviations to identify any potential risks in that comprehensive report. For example, two names in completely different industries might be fine. If there's a small difference in the services that overlap, we may want to talk about that, even if they're in different classes or categories.
And this is where Google searches fall short. A comprehensive trademark search looks beyond what's obvious. It uncovers registered marks, pending applications, and even unregistered uses that could cause risk. So if you find something similar, it doesn't automatically mean you're in trouble, but it does mean you should take a closer look before moving forward.
And then for someone who's been creating for a while, how can they figure out what parts of their work are protectable and what changes do you expect as the personal brand keeps growing?
A good place to start is, what does your audience recognize? What makes you unique? What is making you stand out? It's usually not everything, it's specific elements. Things like your program names, your course title, your podcast name, your tagline, even your handles. If your social handles are the same across all platforms, that may be what makes you unique. And you're monetizing that. You've turned this into a business. These pieces, these identifiers, allow people to remember you, search for you, and associate you with your brand. And it's often the first thing that kind of comes to mind, and it's the first thing that copycatters want.
Looking ahead, we're seeing a big shift. Personal brands are no longer treated like side projects. They're being built and protected like full-scale businesses. Creators are filing trademarks earlier, disputes between similar names are increasing, and platforms are starting to give more weight to verified trademark owners when conflicts arise. So the takeaway is, if you're building something recognizable, you should be thinking about protection sooner rather than later.
All right, let's make this practical. If you're listening and you're thinking, okay, what should I actually do next? Here's a quick checklist. Identify the names your audience recognize, your handles across all platforms. Use one variation of that name everywhere. What is the name that makes you stand out the most? Then identify the brand name of the services or goods that you are selling. It might just be your name that you've monetized and you're getting paid for to display other people's products. But identify that. And then make sure it's actually protectable. Make sure that it's not generic, it's not descriptive, it's unique, and have a comprehensive search run to make sure you can actually own that brand name.
Then it's time to make sure you can own the name. So as Melissa said, run the proper comprehensive search, not just AI, before you commit or invest more into it. Keep records of how and when you're using the name. File your trademark application. Keep an eye on it for copycats and take them down before they hurt your brand.
Most importantly, treat your brand name like it's a business asset. It has value.
Thank you for joining us on Securing Your Brand with Securemark Legal.
If you're building a personal brand, exploring a trade name, you can learn more at securemarklegal.com.
You can schedule a free consultation to discuss your brand name. We also have resources and information to help you protect the identity and reputation behind your business.
And if you found this helpful, be sure to leave a review, ask us questions. We're happy to answer them.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.